Good day. This is a Chief Coffee Chat. I think I've already touched on this subject a couple times, but if I touch on it again, oh well. Recent events have made me think about this, and mostly it's the action that's been going on in Iran and a little bit of my personal life that's been going on. I think I had a video like there's no atheists in foxholes. And then I kept thinking, it's like, everybody says they're always scared going into combat. Well, I was in military intelligence, and of course our motto is we're always out front. And we were out front in the first Gulf War back in '91. And because I went from crossing the berm with headquarters and headquarters company, yes, headquarters and headquarters company, along with my elements of my Charlie company. And then we split down to Charlie company, and then my company commander took each of his assets and spreaded them out. So by the time we got done, us being the headquarters element of his company, we were the largest element out there. There was about a dozen of us individuals. So I wasn't really scared, because I look back and I keep thinking I was never afraid for myself. Now I was thinking of my family, because at that time I had two older boys by a previous marriage. I had a daughter and I had a bun in the oven, so to speak, or she did, not me. And I was thinking about what happens to me or what happens to them if I did get killed over there. So, but I never got scared. I never panicked. Never really got super frightened, and that came to become a problem later on. Now, I don't remember if I talked too much about this convoy, but while we were still with headquarters and headquarters company, and Charlie company was still one thing, my battalion commander thought he was a military historian, but he wasn't that much of a military historian, because we had three columns going out in the desert. We had light vehicles, in other words trucks and Humvees, on the outside. We had all the heavy track vehicles from Charlie company in the middle, plus the the track recovery vehicles of the motor pool in that column. And then I was in the far right column, which was just Charlie company, and it was just all the soft vehicles. And everybody who studied war knows that the Germans would put the heavier vehicles on the outside in case bullets started flying, or artillery, or not artillery, but tank rounds were coming across. Now, we were going through the desert one day. We had a British liaison team with us, and they had their own track vehicle. And back in the day with the MI battalion, we had the Delta company, which was made up of 11 Bravos who were to protect the teams that were supposed to go out and listen for the enemy, so to speak. Well, the divisional scouts said, we don't want them, we don't need them. So our 11 Bravos got mad because they got regulated to nothing but guard duty, and that really made them mad. So we're going through the desert, like I said, in those three columns. We come to a dead stop, and all of a sudden I hear 203s to the front. Well, that's me. I carried a 203 besides being a driver. So I ran to the front, lay down. A whole bunch of us just lay down in the front. We looked in the distance and we could see a tank turret, because the tank was hauled down. Now, to those people that don't know what hauled down means, is that you dig a hole, you drive the bottom part of the tank into that hole, and only the turret's showing, so you don't make much of a silhouette. But we could tell that there was a tank in the distance by the turret. And so our British liaison team, with a bunch of Bravos who clambered onto the vehicle to go along with them, went down range to look at this tank. Well, they came back, and after capturing the crew of the tank, said that, yeah, the barrel was pointed at one of the pieces of heavy equipment on in the middle column, and it was Charlie Company. Now, our equipment for Charlie Company, when you enclose the device that does what it does, can't say, I don't want to give this away, I probably can't even talk about it, but when it gets enclosed, it looks like it is a missile sitting on top of the tracked vehicle. And that's what the tank crew told these guys, said the reason they didn't fire, they thought, oh, we got a missile battalion. Well, missiles go up in the air and for a great distance. They don't go short range, but we're dealing with Iraqi soldiers. So while that situation was going on, over to the left, where headquarters company and headquarters company was, the motor pool people started going out into the desert to the left. And then all of a sudden we saw that there was a trench line over there, and supposedly one Iraqi soldier didn't want to get captured or killed by the, those terrible Americans. He fell on a hand grenade and killed himself. So I mean, I'm lying there in the dirt, or the sand, I guess I should say. I wasn't scared, just like, okay, because nothing was flying. Now, if things were flying, I imagine my attitude might have been a little bit different. And then later on, when the war finally cooled down, so to speak, after 4 or 5 days, we went into a position near a friendly U.S. artillery unit where a lieutenant was shooting a lot. He was having his soldiers feed the dogs, the stray dogs, and then this lieutenant was using his weapon to try to kill these dogs. I don't think he hit a single one, because I never heard a loud yip. Well, yeah, one of those bullets came ricocheting over by us, and my company commander went over there and gave that lieutenant a talk to, and we never heard any more shooting coming from that lieutenant or that unit. Wasn't scared then either. And I think I talked about me doing that step, that hollow step on that big old bunker before. That, I was scared, quite seriously, because it was like I stepped, had that hollow sound underneath me, and I'm on top of a little hill, so to speak. And of course I had to call out to Rodney. I go, Rodney, what am I standing on? He says, oh, you're standing on, looks like a huge bunker, because I got down and there was that passageway. You can look in, and then you had to look around because they made like a hallway, but there was no light coming out of that thing. And I'm like, Rodney, neither one of us has a flashlight. We're not going in there. Wasn't really scared per se, but I was smart enough to know that we probably shouldn't go in there without a flashlight. Could have tripped a mine, tripped a booby trap, maybe found some scared soldier who would shoot first and then try to run away later. We never went back, even with a flashlight. Probably should have. But then that's when we started doing the phone calls again. Well, my wonderful squad leader made sure that she went to every single opportunity to call back home. And then when I got back home permanently, my ex-spouse number 2 asked me, how come you never did that? Called me. I said, well, sweetheart, we were still in a military situation. We were still in a war zone. Just because they said ceasefire doesn't mean everything's all quiet. You never can tell what might happen. Plus, being a sergeant that I was, all that opportunity was mostly for the enlisted. And besides, what was I going to do? Sweetheart, I get to call home. I'm alive. That would have been the conversation, because it's probably all we could talk about anyway, because we don't know when we're coming home. Plus, we can't say that because the enemy could still be listening. So as I look back, it's like, since I wasn't in a danger zone, so to speak, I was in danger because the fires, and we went through many Iraqi position where there were still soldiers and officers, but as far as I know, nobody ever got fired upon by those people. Even looking at those defiant officers who were like standing off by themselves and looking at their enlisted members screaming "Smoke-a, smoke-a," and then we'd throw them, or my fellow soldiers would always throw the MREs that had pork in them. So yeah. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I'll check and make sure I don't copy the same title again, but I just don't remember being scared. And there are a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, we're always scared every time we go into combat." Well, just that scariness probably heightens your senses, and mine were already up because I'm a very observant person and I like to keep track of my surroundings. So just wanted to talk about that. Sorry for the voice, getting over a cold. So this is Chief out. Freedom's not free. You know what to do with a veteran. Thank you very much.